As the U.S. continues to show support for Israel, will President Biden take the step to visit the country? Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Good evening, Iris. What are the White House and Israel both saying about this potential trip?
Good evening to you, Steve. So we haven't heard any formal confirmation from the White House yet about this could be coming trip to Israel by President Biden. But today, President Biden canceled a trip to Colorado for what the White House called national security meetings. And also, Israel today said that if President Biden does go to Israel, it would have a significant impact for the entire Middle East. So we're certainly going to look for any potential announcement from the White House about this in the coming days, if not hours. And when it comes to what's happening in the Middle East, we know that Israel is preparing for a ground offensive into Gaza. And the White House today condemned Hamas for trying to prevent people from leaving Gaza. Here's what White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said this morning. Watch.
I mean, they are literally throwing up roadblocks to prevent people from moving from North Gaza to South Gaza to get towards the Rafah gate. They're actually trying to encourage people to remain human shields as they try to tunnel up underneath their homes and headquarter in their schools and hospitals.
And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been on a whistle-stop tour of the Middle East, visiting 6 countries in just a matter of a few days. And today, when he was in Israel again, he told them that the U.S. has their back and that he's been telling countries nearby to ensure that none of them would try to get involved and try to escalate this into a regional conflict. Here's what Blinken and the Israeli defense minister said today. Watch.
This will be a long war. The price will be high, but we are going to win.
You have and always have the support of the United States.
And all this is as the U.S. is sending a second U.S. carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean. And the goal of that is to try to prevent countries in that region from getting involved in trying to widen this war. Back to you.
NTD's Iris Tao reporting for us from the White House. Thank you, Iris. And FBI Director Christopher Wray saying the agency has seen an increase in reported terror threats in the United States following the Hamas attack on Israel. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security warning law enforcement agencies around the U.S. last week, cautioning about possible threats related to escalating tensions in the Middle East. Wray also says the agency continues to help Americans in Israel who've been impacted by the war. Muzzled, at least partially, a federal judge today imposing a partial gag order on former President Trump ahead of his election interference trial. The decision bars him from making public comments targeting future witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. Judge Tanya Chutkan said that she will not stop the former president from criticizing the Justice Department or suggesting that the case is politically motivated. Trump is also allowed to comment on former Vice President Mike Pence, except for in his involvement in the 2020 election. The order follows a request from special counsel Jack Smith and his prosecutors aimed at restricting what Trump can say about the case. The former president's attorney said that the gag order violates Trump's First Amendment rights as a presidential candidate. Trump is slated to face a federal trial on March 4th next year, just one day before Super Tuesday. The latest fundraising numbers for presidential hopefuls are out. President Biden and former President Trump both seem to be doing well. Former Vice President Mike Pence, meanwhile, lagging behind. Biden's team announced that the president collected around $71 million in the third quarter. Among Republicans, Trump raised the most by far. The former president's team said he collected over $45 million. It's important to note that unlike Biden, Trump shares his donor base with many other candidates participating in the primaries for 2024. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis raising around $15 million, and independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. raising just shy of $9 million. Pence, meanwhile, raising just over $3 million during the quarter, but the campaign also has over $500,000 of debt. And on Capitol Hill, House Republicans preparing to take their vote for House Speaker public. Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan is the elected nominee, but it still remains to be seen if he has the votes to secure the gavel. NTD's Melina Wisecup joins us from the Capitol with more. Melina, set the scene for us. What can we expect to see tomorrow with this vote?
Well, Steve, that depends on who you ask at this point. It looks like Jim Jordan is shoring up more support, especially from those holdout members. For example, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Mike Rogers, was originally against Jordan, and he has since flipped to be in support of him, saying that after several conversations with Jordan, he feels comfortable with voting for him now. But while he has flipped a couple of those holdout votes, the reality is there are still not 217 votes for Jordan locked in at this moment. But irregardless, Jordan wants to bring this to the House floor for a vote at noon tomorrow, which is different from the stance that he previously took along with other Republicans. They wanted to secure those 217 votes behind closed doors before bringing this before the public, but now that has since changed. And as a matter of fact, right now, there are some who are still not sure about which way they're going to vote. And there are some Republicans even floating the idea of possibly working with Democrats. But regardless, Jordan says he's optimistic about how that vote will turn out tomorrow. Take a look at this.
Nobody in America can get 217 right now out of the Republican conference. If that becomes apparent to everybody, then at some point in time, we're going to have to work across the aisle, try to figure out what it's going to take for us to be able to get a speaker elected.
The only way to do this is the way the founders intended, is you have the vote tomorrow. We've set it for 12 o'clock, and I feel real good about it.
It's not going to take 17 rounds.
Okay.
I think we'll take a very few rounds and probably have Jim Jordan as our speaker in the next 2 days.
His plan last week was that we are going to put forward a clean continuing resolution. I'm still concerned, but I'm prepared to put a vote for our nominee.
Now, that point that the Congresswoman just made speaks to the bigger reality of all this. That is the fact that even if Jordan is able to win the speakership tomorrow or the next day, he's coming in at a really tough time because this is a month before the government again runs out of money. So he will have to deal with that spending fight, of course, within his own party, but also with a Democrat-controlled Senate and a Democrat-controlled White House. So this will be very difficult for Jordan or whoever the next speaker is, especially with that motion to vacate. That is the one member able to raise a motion to oust the speakership. That rule has not changed just yet, so it will be tough for any member who takes that position. But regardless, Jordan is vowing now to unite his party, saying that the cons of this discord within the Republican Party actually outweigh the pros, writing in a letter to his colleagues that the principles that unite us as Republicans are far greater than the disagreements that divide us. The country and our conference cannot afford us attacking each other right now. So as of right now, it is looking like Jim Jordan is getting a bit closer to those 217 votes that he needs. He can't afford to lose more than 4 votes here, which is nearly the entire Republican conference. So this is what we will be looking for tomorrow as we approach that vote at noon. Will he have enough votes by that time to ensure his taking the gavel at that first round of voting, or will it be multiple rounds of ballots just like we saw in January? Steve?
NTD's Melina Wisecup reporting from the Capitol. Thank you for that, Melina. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.